You're enjoying El Conservador, George Rodriguez on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
All right, my friends, coming at you one more time. George Rodriguez talking to San Antonio, deep in the heart of Texas. Thank you for being with us. We're going to now go to our little interview that we did earlier today with Mr. Wayne Thompson, who is an officer in Fort Bend County. And I wanted to reach out to him on this very sad and day that they were putting to rest the officer, the deputy in Houston. And Wayne is the first of two very good interviews that we've got. So let's go to the interview and let's hear from Wayne Thompson. All right, folks, we've got a real special guest on this very eventful and somewhat sad day this Friday, as Governor Greg Abbott has called upon all of us to remember the men and women of law enforcement and the sacrifices, the ultimate sacrifices that sometimes they make in protecting our communities. And our guest is Wayne Thompson, who is running for constable in Fort Bend County. And Wayne has been a strong conservative, and I believe you're even a precinct chair. Is that not right, Wayne?
Yes, sir, that is correct. Precinct 3113 in Fort Bend County, and I've been blessed to be able to serve in that capacity.
Great. Well, you know, Wayne, you're in law enforcement. How difficult is it at this point to be in law enforcement, particularly when we've got a president, a commander-in-chief, and I use that phrase very tongue-in-cheek, when we've got somebody like him who is in actuality almost encouraging lawlessness and disrespect? How difficult is it now? We know of another law enforcement officer that was killed a couple of days ago in Abilene this time. And, I mean, you know, besides the one in Houston last week, now in Abilene, what the heck is going on, and how difficult is it, buddy?
Well, it's certainly, first and foremost, of course, our condolences go out to the Harris County Sheriff's Office and the family of Deputy Goforth. This viewing is underway now, and the funeral within the hour. Your question is certainly a valid one, and it is difficult to get the job done when historically President Obama and Eric Holder have been not very friendly, not a friend of public servants and even the military, and they haven't helped our cause. You know, they're usually quick to throw law enforcement under the bus before even finding out all the facts. When you go back to Ferguson and some of these other police shootings and other things like that, they're quick to throw us under the bus, yet they're very, very slow to speak out, if they even do at all, in regards to law enforcement officers being killed in the line of duty. And that's very sad. It makes the job difficult, and I don't think we have a very good relationship with our president administration in the White House right now because of it.
You know, one of the things that I was taught when I was little, I mean, my parents were very, very strict. I mean, traditionally very, very strict in that sense of, you know, you said yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And, you know, if I got in trouble outside the home, I was in trouble inside the home. But it just doesn't seem to be the case anymore with kids. I mean, there seems to be a prevalent disregard for authority. Is that what you see?
I think that there definitely has been a breakdown in family values and respect. I think you make a good point. You know, your upbringing, that type of discipline and respect and obedience started in the home. And I think we see a breakdown in this day and age in some cases where that's not being taught in the home. You know, you're supposed to learn things in the home, and then hopefully schools and churches and teachers reinforce what you've already started with from your mom and dad. And we definitely have seen a breakdown in that. I have seen more and more disrespect from, teenagers and young adults. And I think that's because it wasn't properly taught in the home by mom and dad. And then, of course, when they turn on the news and they see someone like the president who is attacking law enforcement, it certainly doesn't help reinforce any positive behavior.
It really doesn't, because it's almost like you're excusing it. Now, didn't you guys have some kind of a standoff on Highway 59 not too long ago? A chase and then a shooting or something of the nature? Because once again, that seems to be another issue that something again that has become more prevalent, where people will run from the police and endanger everybody else.
Right. Yes, we've had instances of that both here in Houston, Harris County, and in the state, nationwide. And I think it still goes back to the fact that respect and obedience for the rules should start in the home. And then also, law enforcement officers on the street are becoming more and more timid about doing their job. And that's not to say they won't do their job, but again, when you have an administration at the federal level that doesn't support law enforcement, and every time you turn the corner, it seems like somebody's ready with a lawsuit, or there's a special interest group out there that's trying to blame law enforcement for really what is a problem that law enforcement didn't cause. We usually respond to things. Nobody calls 911 to tell us they're having a great day. So we're there when things are generally at their worst. And, the agencies are getting fearful of liability. And because of that, many agencies will not pursue or get involved in vehicle chases. And the bad guys probably feel like they have a free-for-all right now.
Yeah. In my limited experience in law enforcement comes from when I worked at the Justice Department in Community Relations, and I used to ride with police officers across the country on various occasions to get some type of knowledge about police community relations. I also was the HUD director in Houston, and I rode along with police officers on Saturday nights to check out what was going on in public housing, in our public housing on Saturday nights, which is, it was like watching a movie at times. And people just don't understand, how the adrenaline goes and how dangerous it is when you're stopping somebody, and everybody seems to think that it's all very, very innocent, but anything can happen. I was witness to a couple of occasions when guns were drawn on the police officers, not by the police officers. And people just don't seem to understand that. How do you explain to people how dangerous it can be? And it's like an emotional roller coaster at times.
Right. It is a very dangerous job, and certainly along the lines of firefighting, EMS, military personnel, and it is difficult to explain that to someone who hasn't been in our shoes. I certainly encourage ride-alongs like what you did for people to gain a better understanding, or maybe even enrolling in a Citizens Police Academy. But even those things just give you a very limited exposure. It's difficult. People expect law enforcement to be held to a higher standard, and sometimes I think that comes with the unreal expectation that, somehow we have superhuman powers and x-ray vision and mind-reading capabilities, and of course we don't. We don't know what that person's thinking. We don't know if they're there to harm us or to shake their hand, and it's difficult to explain that to someone who really truly hasn't been in a position like that. And there's only a few career fields that you can really experience those life and death decisions in, and law enforcement is certainly one of them. But what I can say is that day in and day out, we're faced with these dangers, and most of the time the outcome is very, very good, and on rare occasion law enforcement has to use force or even deadly force, and I just ask that people understand that it's not an easy job. We don't have fortune-telling capabilities, so we're just out there doing the best job we can with the equipment and knowledge that we have. So it is a scary job field to be in. We're faced with unknown dangers every day the moment we walk out the door. And as in this case, it could be as simple as fueling up a patrol car at the end of the shift, and we see what happened this last Friday. So.
Wow. Wayne, you're running for office. Tell the people a little bit about what you're planning on doing, or what you're doing as far as running for office.
Yes, sir. I am running for Fort Bend County Constable Precinct 3, which covers one of the fastest growing parts of Fort Bend County, parts of Katy, Fulshear, Simonton, Long I-10, and I ran in 2012, and I was one of the unfortunate ones that was districted out of the precinct that I used to live in. When they had taken a look at the census, they redrew some precinct lines, and I fell victim to that. So I'm back at it again. I've been blessed now with 10 nationally broadcast radio shows, 2 cable news shows, and just wonderful results. In Texas, there are 2 required law enforcement offices, and that's the sheriff and the constable. And, I have a heart for service, and I believe I'm a servant leader. And I think that people need to know their law enforcement officials, their elected law enforcement officials. We're the first line of defense for these areas in the county. And that's really where my heart is. I've had a full career of public service and in military service, and I feel like that's the best way I can serve the people in the community here in Fort Bend County.
Excellent. Well, tell the people how they can get a hold of you if they want to follow you on this on this campaign.
Sure. We have a wonderful website, and it's www.votewayne.thompson.com. And then I am on social media, both on Twitter at WayneKThompson.com, and I have 2 Facebook pages. And they can follow us and sign up for any one of those things via the website, and there's links to the social media too. You can listen to all the cable news shows and radio shows on there, and the show will be added to that website too. And then there's also some speaking engagements that they can review, and we're fortunate to have about 2,000 visitors, new visitors every month to that website, which is great for a local race.
Excellent. Well, Wayne, the only thing I can tell you at this point as we conclude is, gosh, you need to be safe out there, buddy.
Yes, sir, and we appreciate it, and I'm thankful to be on your show anytime. And I would just like to add that really the community, especially in Texas and Fort Bend and Harris counties, has come together with this event. And, I often say that the thin blue line becomes thinner every time a law enforcement officer dies, but I'm very proud of the citizens of Texas and Harris and Fort Bend counties. I think our line got a little thicker with this event. If there's any good in it, it's that the community and the police have come together as one, and that's really a wonderful thing.
Well, great. Thank you very, very much for coming on, and we'll get you, as your campaign continues, we'll get you on here to talk a little bit more about it, because we got lots of folks in Katy and Fulshear and all that area of Fort Bend County that listen to our program.
That's great, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Got it. Once again, that was Wayne Thompson, and he's running for Constable, Precinct 3 in Fort Bend County, explaining to you, the headaches that the challenges that they face on a regular basis. We're going to go ahead and take a quick little break, and then we'll come back, and we got Chris Cabrera talking to us from the Border Patrol in South Texas, in the Valley sector. And just like Wayne Thompson and company are watching over our neighborhoods, Chris Cabrera and company and the Border Patrol are watching over us at the frontiers, at the borders. And they've got a heck of a job on their hands. So don't go away. We'll be right back.